All right, this is for my Patreon members. Patreon members, we are going to take a look at the Bitcoin charts alongside with some of the other charts that we've been going over too as well. But we're going to go into the theta charts to see what we might be able to determine there too. I've been kind of taking a look at theta. It does look like it's trying to make a move back to the upside. So we might want to take a look at that too here as well. But looking at the Bitcoin charts, I'm still expecting a little bit more of a sell-off, but we are going to have to wait to see how that wants to turn out. We can see here on our 2 hour, we're still kind of just trending sideways, kind of unsure of itself. Money flow not giving us a clear direction either. Kind of just moving sideways, large pumps and dumps here and there, some BART patterns as well. So we're going to have to see exactly what this wants to give us moving on forward. Going into our 4 hour, we're getting a sell signal here on market guide, but didn't quite lead to a really big sell-off just yet. Money flow is kind of moving back up into that greenish area as of right now as well too. We're finding some support here on our bottom trend line to continue probably up a little bit higher. Looks like we're trying to break through a few of these bullish trend lines as well too. If we go on into our 6 hour, let's see what's happening here. It looks like we have quite a little bit of overhead resistance for right now, but if we start to break through some of these green trend lines, then we'll definitely start to probably push back up a little bit higher. We can still see that our money flow is kind of wanting to trickle off just a tad bit. We are trying to move back up into that greenish area as of right now. We'll have to see how much room to the upside this wants to give us. Going on into our 8 hour. 8 hour time frame. This is one time frame I was kind of keeping an eye on close this past weekend. We can see here that our green trend line, we're finding some resistance at it. It does look like we've broken through on it too. So we could make another push back to the upside. That's a firm possibility. But it does look like we are just kind of consolidating out to the side here. We've been expecting a pretty big sell-off, but haven't quite gotten that sell-off that we've been wanting. So, I would think that we're probably more than less going to still just kind of trend out sideways here for the most part, unless something happens this week and we end up seeing that major sell-off. Also on our 12 hour time frame. 12 hour time frame, money flow is still kind of moving to the downside here. It could give us another push into that greenish territory and then maybe another sell-off after that. That's a firm possibility. So we'll have to wait to see exactly how this wants to play out. And then let's go on into our 21 hour. 21 hour also giving us money flow moving down into that reddish area. Maybe a push back to the upside. It does look like we are about to get a green dot here on the 21 hour moving forward. I feel that more than likely Bitcoin is probably going to chop sideways for right now, at least going on into the rest of the week. And then maybe we'll decide a clear direction on that. I know that a few people have been talking about, this trend line down here, and then also maybe this one here. So there's a few different things that we can kind of keep a close eye on too as well moving forward, but it does look like Bitcoin just wants to continue to move sideways, which is very unfortunate because it's very hard to trade when Bitcoin is just kind of not doing anything, right? So we can see Bitcoin's been kind of just moving sideways, kind of in this consolidation pattern as of right now. It does look like it is starting to squeeze a little bit tighter here as far as price action is concerned. So we could end up seeing a relatively big move sometime soon. Here on our daily, it does look like we are trying to make back support above our 13 EMA, as you can see here with the bearish count. But we do have a green dot to the upside. So if that confirms, we could probably end up coming back up to retest that 9,500 area, or maybe even that 9,300 area as well too. So I'm keeping a pretty close, tight stop loss right now. Honestly, like if we push back up a little bit higher, I might consider shorting again. But we still haven't gotten that big sell-off like we were expecting. And Bitcoin is just continuing to just kind of be boring and move sideways for right now too. So going on into our 2 day time frame. 2 day time frame, we did start to dip below that 13 EMA, but as you can see now, it does look like we are just kind of moving sideways along it around that 92.74 area. It does look like we are expecting a red dot here on the 2 day. We have our dark blue momentum wave that's still pushing to the upside though. So if we get a red dot, we could come back down, put in another trigger wave, and that could send us up a little bit higher. But our 3 day money flow is still kind of holding us down just a tad bit. giving us a nice little angle here, possibly to the downside as well too. We had that imperfect 9 that started to give us another bullish count. So we'll have to wait to see exactly how this wants to play out, but it does look like Bitcoin is being more or less boring right now and is not giving us the price action that we were expecting and we were kind of hoping for too as well. But we just have to adjust. This is part of trading. You just have to adjust and go with what is ever being shown on the charts, right? And so looking at our 4-day here, we're still holding support above our 13 EMA here on our 4-day too as well. Money flow just kind of moving out to the side right now. Maybe putting in a lower high, but it does look like it is kind of wanting to move back to the upside. Could possibly be expecting a green dot here relatively soon. So that's a firm possibility as well. 5-day, we still had that aggressive 13 to the downside. We also had our bearish count. Our bearish count, it's not a extremely bearish movement. It's still the bearish count, but we had the 5 and then possibly a 6, a 7, 8, 9. But I'm looking at this 5-day, and the 5-day cipher B is looking like it wants to give us another green dot here relatively soon. So we need to be very cautious. Keep a tight stop if you are trading this. We've been expecting the sell-off, but it hasn't occurred just yet. So we need to be ready for whatever might happen. If we get a push back up to 9,500, that's a firm possibility, and we'll have to just make our adjustments from there on out. So let's turn on our buy and sell signal here really quick. So buy and sell signal, also on our 6-day here. We've been kind of expecting the sell-off, but haven't quite gotten it just yet. Money flow is still moving down into that reddish area. It does look like our VWAP is wanting to clip back to the upside, so we'll have to see if this gives us another green dot. It could or it can't, but we're gonna have to wait a few days to see what this week's price action wants to give us. But so far, Bitcoin just kind of moving sideways. I could see us dip low and maybe just give us like a rounded structure like this to then send us back to the upside. So that's a firm possibility. Something of like this nature where it's maybe just like some type of little handle and then we continue on back to the upside. That is a firm possibility. So take that into consideration. It doesn't look like we're going to get the big sell-off, but I could be mistaken. It could still come relatively soon without us knowing. Bitcoin likes to be very volatile, and we're just going to have to change with what the markets give us, right? So we had this sell signal here. No major sell-off just yet. Going on into our weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, we had our sell here, and now we're starting to get a candle that is kind of unsure of itself where it wants to close at. This will close on the 13th, so we'll get this closing by tomorrow. And this doji, this doji is kind of just signaling that we need to just be ready for another maybe move back to the upside too, potentially. It is a possibility, so take that into consideration for what it is. Going on into our 2-week chart, I actually did want to look at some of our daily time frames. I had been looking at like some of these 9 days, which had also given us sell signals as well. And sometimes these don't appear that often, but when they do, they mean a lot to us. So the 9-day, let's take a look at our 8-day. So I think our 8-day is probably going to give us the most data. But we were expecting kind of some topping out patterns here, and it still looks like we might be in for some major moves later on. The 10-day has not given us a sell signal, but our 9-day has, and this is just something that we need to consider moving forward. But you can see here we had a sell and then a buy, sell, continue to move sideways, and then we had the big capitulation. And that's kind of what I'm expecting. I'm looking more or less like we'll have this sell signal and then we'll just have some sideways action, and that sideways action then maybe give us the capitulation. I can see here that we have a one bearish count to the downside as of right now too as well. It seems to be a perfect count to the downside possibly as well too. Let's go back to our 8-day. I don't really look at these time frames that often, but you could probably find some things on here that might help you with your trading if you are using TradingView and looking at some of these time frames too as well. So we're still expecting, I mean, it still looks like it wants to give us the move, but honestly, if we continue to trend out sideways, it's going to be a little bit longer, and I just want us to remain very cautious and know that we need to adjust with anything that is given in front of us, right? So let's go into our 2 week here, see what's happening. 2 week time frame, not much to be told here just yet. Our 13 EMA is sitting at about 8,500. We could come back down and retest that. That's a firm possibility, but we'll have to wait to see how that wants to play out. So let's go on into the theta chart, because the theta chart is looking very interesting right now, and I want us to see what is going on here with it. So we're gonna start with our 6 hour time frame. 6 hour time frame here. We start to zoom back. We can see that theta had this big push almost up to 50 cents. And it does look like we are starting to maybe want to make another structure to push us back up a little bit higher. So we're sitting at about 27 cents right now with theta. And, we can kind of see how these trend lines have been kind of forming this, parabolic kind of structure to move us back to the upside. Now, we did just get a lot of consolidation down here after one of our sells, after our big sell-off from the 50 cents area. And it does look like we are breaking some trend line resistance as of right now to possibly push us back to the upside. So that's just something we need to take into account here. But we did get a nice little push here from theta to maybe push us back to the upside going on into our, we can also see here, this is another big thing that I've been looking at, is our money flow. That looks like it's ready to start moving back to the upside here. So especially on our 6 hour and then our 8 hour as well too. Money flow just kind of giving us this clean structure that's pushing us back into that greenish territory. So indicating that the money's moving back into this altcoin. As it seems, money is wanting to push back into some of these altcoins as of right now. Maybe expecting Bitcoin dominance to probably fall off and then give us a bullish move on some of these altcoins. So keeping a close eye on the altcoins from here on out. Whatever altcoins that you're into, by all means, make sure you do your own research. I've been interested in theta for a long time, and it's going to be one that I will be in heavy accumulation of here in the next, couple of months probably. If the predictions are true on where this thing could be headed to, then honestly, I wouldn't feel bad about just scooping it up right now, although I was waiting for a few lower numbers. If the predictions are true, theta is going to have to start finding support at some of these areas. And as you can see here, it's found support on this 8 hour right at about 2200 sats. So it does look like this will be a very strong support for us moving forward. And then we'll have some other resistance areas up here that we need to kind of break through from here on out. So the 8 hour on theta, as of right now, money flow is still moving to that top side. Let's go into our 12 hour time frame. So if we go into our 12 hour time frame, I did also want to turn off this to get a little bit clearer direction. So it does look like we have a nice little wick up above head here. And if we start to find support above this trend line, then that will be relatively bullish for us moving forward from here on out. So if we start to find trend line support up here, that's a firm possibility. And then theta will probably more than likely get us back up at least into that 30 cent, 40 cent area relatively soon. So definitely need to keep an eye out here. Looking at our 12 hour money flow moving back up into that greenish territory possibly. So we need to see how much of a push back up we can get with this altcoin. And then going into our 21, we can also see that our 21 hours money flow is still moving back up into that greenish area there too as well. So this has me relatively bullish for the most part. Money flow from our 6 hour all the way to our 21 is moving back into that greenish territory. We can still see here that we've been putting in lower highs with our 1 day green money flow, but we are starting to have this nice little bullish push with our VWAP pushing up, and then also our blue wave that's also kind of pushing up here as well too. So, I'm going to start to get a little bit back into theta as of right now, just finding its support on maybe this 100 EMA here. It came back down to retest it, and it does look like it has made a nice little bounce from there on out. So You could probably go ahead and set some orders down a little bit lower if you want, maybe at like the 25 cent area. If we do step back down to that area, that is a firm possibility. Now, something to notice on the daily is that we are getting an aggressive 13 to the downside here, but no sign of a red dot just yet on our on Cypher B, the blue momentum wave either. So I definitely feel like this still has a nice little push to the upside here for us left. And then maybe seeing some consolidation from there on out. So maybe find new support at around that 30 cent area. That is a possibility. So our 2 days looking pretty bullish as well too. And this is where I start to get a little bit more bullish on theta. We can see here we had this consolidation down below our 0 pivot point on Cypher B, and now we put in a green dot, and it looks like we're just kind of trending back to the upside. This is a pretty deep cut for us to continue to move back to the upside here. So this is what more or less has me relatively bullish for theta right now. But we are starting to see this push back to the upside here, going on into our 3-day. 3-day also green dot, possibly ready to push back to the upside. Money flow still staying very consistent on some of these higher time frames, especially our 2-day and our 3-day. Money flow still looks relatively consistent, probably pushes back up. That's why I'm going to exclude this daily money flow and probably assume that we'll start to push back up with our green money flow on our 1-day as well too. So going back to our 3-day, we're still in an extended bull count here too as well. That's something to take note of. Let's go into our buy and sell signals here, see what's happening. Do we get buy and sell signals with our daily time frame? I'll wait for this to finish loading. So we had that buy here, the sell there. 2-day we have a buy signal there as well. Going on into our 3-day, what do we have? 3-day, not much to take note of here. Probably not enough data for us to get buy and sell signals yet on our 3-day time frame. So something to take note of, but our 2-day was giving us at least a nice little buy signal there. So we had a sell up here and then a buy back down here. So something to take note of from here on out. Going on into our 4-day, 3-day, and 4-day. 4-day is giving us a green dot here, possibly ready to push us back up to the top side. Money flow is looking relatively healthy here too, just consistently kind of trending sideways for the most part right now. So I'm going to be considering, definitely a good position here in theta relatively soon, being that we're starting to get these green dots and our money flow also moving in the same direction as our green dots in our Cypher B blue momentum wave too as well. Leaves me relatively bullish for right now. So 1-2 bullish count here on the 5-day. Were we getting a bullish count there on our 4-day? Yeah. 6-day bullish count, extended bull count here too as well with the 1-2. And then also that 5-day was also giving us another push back to the upside with the green dot there as well too. And then let's see if we got we haven't gotten a dot on our weekly, but I'm expecting the dot on our weekly to push us relatively soon. So we could probably expect another green dot here on the weekly time frame to push us back to the upside. So consider that for what it is and just be ready to start to accumulate theta from here on out, because I think that it's probably getting ready to make its next support above some of these key time frames. And if the predictions are true about where this coin is headed to, then it's going to have to start to make those new support areas for itself. And 30 cents could be the next new support. So especially to hold this 13 EMA and just continue to be very relatively bullish. And if we get $100 theta or $1,000 theta within the next couple of years, you're not going to want to miss out on this one. That's for sure. Michelle Wydev has predicted it to be a top 5 coin later on in the future as well. So if anything, it's not going to be, detrimental that you didn't pick it up at 15 cents or 18 cents or anything like that. But just go ahead and start DCAing back in, and that's all there is to it. So with that being said, everyone, I'm going to go ahead and leave it there. We were still expecting the Bitcoin sell-off. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to take for us to actually get that. I see Bitcoin probably trending out sideways for a little bit longer. I would just keep your stop losses relatively tight, and if we get another push back to the upside, hey, then go ahead and maybe consider hopping back into a short. I will be keeping you posted though on what I am going to be doing into these markets. And then with that being said, we'll talk about it a little bit later. All right. Thanks, Patreon members. I'll see y'all in the Discord chat.